What's bean to bar? Bean to bar chocolate is getting the beans in, so getting the raw ingredients in and making it right from the cocoa bean to the bar. So you could say that we're chocolate makers. There's hundreds of chocolatiers around New Zealand buying big blocks of chocolate in, melting it down, and then making the beautiful creations with it. So you could call them chocolatiers, but we actually get the cocoa beans and make the blocks of chocolate, so we're chocolate makers. Well, I've been a pastry chef for about 18 years now, and about 5 years ago I was working heavily with chocolate, and I was reading the backs of the packets and I was going, oh, where's my chocolate actually coming from? Where's my ingredients coming from? It just says cocoa mass or cocoa sugar, fat, vanilla, soy lecithin, all these ingredients. So I emailed a couple of these producers and I said, where exactly are the beans coming from? They couldn't exactly tell me. Like a lot of like coffee and sugar and chocolate, a lot of it's been built on slavery. So I was really quite concerned on where my ingredients were actually coming from.
What I love about the Wellington Chocolate Factory and the way that it's been set up is that absolute transparency. Anybody 7 days a week can walk in, they can see the beans hit on one side, and then they can watch us make the chocolate right from the bean to the bar. There's nothing to hide.
So these are still prototypes. So we've just recently finished building this one. So it's got air sucking it up, sucking out, and air blowing up. So it's creating a bit of a hurricane in here, and the air sucking up, it's just grabbing all the light stuff. This has been one of the most frustrating machines for me to build. I started building it with my dad, so we set up, found some plans on the internet and did a base model of it that worked really well.
I've always had an interest in social enterprise. The coffee company I founded in Melbourne would create employment for people who would otherwise find it difficult, so English as a second language, older people, long-term unemployed, and we'd deliver coffee beans by bicycle to the other shops that we had. So that's when I really started to get interested in sort of like the middle ground between a for-profit and a not-for-profit. And for sure the Fair Trade Organisation has sort of educated everybody about the importance of trading fairly, and I see that as a stepping stone for direct trade for us.
Hi, my name is Robert. I'm Managing Director of Sankamap Exports. This is my branch manager in Arawa town, mainland Bougainville. I will give you a tour of how we buy cocoa here in Bougainville. As you can see, we do thorough checking and thorough cleaning of all our cocoa. This is a sorting tray. As you can see, the boys are hand picking beans.
My name is James Rutana. I'm owner of this plantation here. It's a small estate plantation, about 100 hectares. I mainly plant cocoa trees on this plantation. My background is I've been in cocoa for nearly 40 years, and now I'm in a plantation and growing cocoa, raising cocoa for the overseas market.
Every origin we have has a story behind it, and I sort of feel like artisan producers of food and beverages today, it should almost be a given that it's fairly traded and organically grown, that we don't need to shout about it on our wrappers. Working with individual farmers and estates around the world, we're preserving strains and varietals of these beans and also paying double or 3 times the amount that the industrial chocolate makers will pay, and that's going to improve the lives of the farmers.
I'm looking at exploring into another areas of markets. One of the areas I'm looking at is to find a better price for my cocoa that I produce on the plantation.
So when I met James Rutana, who has 100 hectares in Bougainville, the week before he said he was about to give up after all of these years growing cocoa. He had a 350 person staff on his farm before the Civil War, and then him and his family fled to the Solomon Islands and came back after the war. They've been rebuilding ever since.
So 30 of these pods will make 1 kilo of chocolate. It's quite labour intensive harvesting them. Every pod will need to be cut off the tree by hand, and 30 of these will make 1 kilo of chocolate. There's no experienced chocolate makers here in New Zealand that I have met so far. There's a few chocolatiers, but still they're very rare in New Zealand as well. Well, it was very scary because this was we didn't have anyone showing us what to do or how to do it. So everything that's happened so far has happened quite organically. Just kind of happened. Yeah. But it's been a lot of training, a lot of hours, a lot of research, a lot of patience. But it is working, so it is going to pay off at some stage.